Hey y'all, I'm Elsita Dean, and We Are is a series created to highlight our uniqueness, personalities, and the experiences beyond our titles and careers. I'm so excited to talk to three incredible women who are transitioning into new chapters in their lives. Today in our episode, We Are Moving Forward, we want to capture the feelings that manifest during times of change in our lives. So, to get us started, please introduce yourselves. I want to hear your name, where you're transitioning from, and where you're transitioning to. Whoever wants to get started.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, so my name is Kate Summerhill, and I'm transitioning from being a career ambassador into being a career coach.
My name is Nyjah, and I'm transitioning from grad school to a career coach. Moving from Texas.
Nice. Moving from or to?
Or moving to Texas.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Nice.
And my name is Briana, and I'm currently at the UNT Career Center, but I'm sadly moving away back to Wisconsin to family.
Why? We wish it could just box you up and keep you a little bit longer. So thank y'all so much for coming and just sharing these vulnerable, scary feelings that come with change. So just to kick us off, the first question we have is, with the new move, what are you taking with you?
I would say what I took with me was probably the experiences that I was able to, because I started off as full-time in admissions as an admissions counselor, and then I went to school full-time to get my master's degree. So I think just all the learning experiences that I've obtained from going from professional to a full-time student into like a new role in a new state is what I'm taking with me. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice.
Go for it.
You girl, because
I think the biggest thing that I'm going to take with me is everything that I've learned from being a full-time staff member for the first time. I've been at UNT for a year as full-time, but in total 6 years here, and I've really learned what it is to be part of a Mean Green family here, and I'm so excited to take that with me and be able to share that experience and connection with my students going forward.
Yeah. Go Mean Green.
That's a hard one. Because I could tell you everything I wouldn't take with me, but the things that I think it has to piggyback off of experiences of just like in the very last part, like I learned to try not to box myself in. So it's more so like the reminder of, when you get into that tight space, don't stay there, like get out. And if that makes sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. It's like the lesson learned of limitations and not letting those inhibit you.
Yeah.
Nice. So. Thank y'all for sharing that. So what's similar to that? Like, what is a high moment and a low moment of your move forward? No particular order.
Ooh. I'd say a high moment is getting a new job. That's always exciting and kind of a scary transition, but exciting to know that I have a whole new opportunity to learn so much and to take so much with me. I will say the lowest point, though, is leaving my Mean Green family because it made such an impact on me, and it's really going to be hard to leave the familiarity of it, but also knowing that I can take it with me in my heart and go forward with that. No tears yet. We're not gonna cry.
No, it's crazy.
Crying yesterday. No more tears today.
Yeah. No, I think for me personally, a high moment was just going to like a new location and like starting new routines for myself and getting a new place and like starting a new position, because I wrote my thesis about the transition and self-authorship of student athletes, and in that I've learned the importance of career maturity, which is why I wanted to get into career services. So just really excited about the role and everything, but I think a low moment was probably just the stress of it all. When I came down here, like I didn't have like a place to stay, and so I was staying with my cousin, and my dad was like, Nyjah, calm down, like it's okay. Like literally the day that I drove here, I went to go look at the apartments that I stayed at or that I was going or thinking about living in, just to make sure I was making like a solid choice. But the stress of like my first day working, I ended up going right after. So like during our lunch, I went to the apartment complex to pick up my keys and to like sign everything and like get the money order and everything I needed. And then like I didn't really eat anything, so when I came back, it was like finishing up the training and then moving in everything right after work. So it was
like
stressful. Yeah, definitely stressful. But once I got settled in and just kind of getting into like my new routines of like what I wanted for myself and like working and like meeting everybody, like that's definitely the high part of everything. So yeah, it's like working through like the storm so I can see like afterwards, you know. Yeah.
That's a tweetable.
That's good. Honestly, a high moment from transitioning from career ambassador to career coach was just that I actually got to go into a job I genuinely cared about. And that was like the biggest fear upon that, because I had it before graduating. And then once I graduated, it was like, I don't want to go into a job I don't care about, you know? And so the low moment during the transition was honestly like before knowing if I got the position or not. And that was the scary part of just that waiting. And it's like, okay, what's going to be my next move if it doesn't work out? And then just that anxiety of like in the waiting of like, was I good enough for this job? Like, was I just it's really hard to, the longer that you wait, it's so hard to not start thinking in a negative way of like, okay, more time is bad. And like the longer that I have to wait for this job offer, like it's not good. And so I think that was the low moment of just that anxiety and not feeling like I was enough. But of course, at the end of the wait, everything was fine. It was great, but it showed me that I need to work on my patience. So, yeah.
Kate, that is so real. I love that you said, like, you know, waiting and sort of that imposter syndrome that starts to pressure and build, feeling like you're not good enough. And what's crazy is because, like, let's just say it turned the other way and there was a rejection. Is that validation that you weren't good enough? You know what I mean? Like, how do you still have those conversations with yourself to not, like, pour your worth into a role, you know?
That's the thing, because I applied for 2 career coach positions, and the first one, I wasn't hearing anything back, and so I went and asked and said, hey, like, what's going on? And they said, it doesn't look too good. And I remember I called my mom, and I was like, yeah, I didn't get it. And she goes, you're taking this really well. I was like, well, yeah, like, I just got to find my next move. And I was kind of like trying to leave behind those emotions of like, you know, I can't let those emotions of like being upset about not getting something like consume me. Oh my goodness. But it's also important to feel those things because, you know, if you don't deal with it, they're still there. Right. Yeah. And so like everyone kept telling me like, you're handling this really well. Like we know how much you wanted this job and stuff. And I was like, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. I was like, you know, I'm just going to find my next move. And so, yeah, it was, I mean, of course, everything worked out with the second time around. And so, you know, but yeah, it's just, it's very weird, especially transitioning from a college environment to the adult, real world 8-to-5 job life, you know.
Which is ironic because it's in the same office, right? Like you worked in the same office, but now it's like a completely different life
worlds,
and culture.
2 different worlds. So yeah, it's crazy.
Interesting. But, well, thanks, lady. That transitions to the next thing I wanted to ask y'all. So bleeding over a bit, what skills do you need to have in order to successfully transition? Would you say?
Okay, I'm going to quote my dad here, which someday hopefully he'll see this and he'll be proud. My dad, so I've moved quite a few times with just life and things like that, and my dad always told me the 3 big pillars that you need to survive any kind of situation that's rough or stressful is to improvise, adapt, and overcome. Because if you just improvise, you will figure out what you need to do. Adapt because the situation's always going to change and eventually you'll figure it out, and overcome because you will get past this point. It is one moment in your life and you will keep going forward.
The sun will keep shining, right? The next day it'll come out, right?
I think to piggyback off of that, because my dad is like someone who I really go to for a lot of advice, and he was always like, have a plan A, plan B, and plan C. So like always kind of strategize, and like if it doesn't work out, like it's okay. But I think for me personally, I think comparison, you have to really watch out for that because When I was in grad school, there were so many people who were getting jobs before I did, and it was getting closer to graduation, and I was like, oh my goodness. But comparison is the biggest thief of joy, you know. So you have to kind of keep yourself in check when you're getting to that, because it's like, you know, you still have to think about what you accomplished and be proud of that. You know, wherever you're supposed to go is going to be exactly where you need to be, you know.
Oh, that's real.
Yeah, I mean, skills for transitioning, it's literally that. It's being able to accept the change to begin with, and just like being okay with the unknown, which I don't have that skill, but I know it's a skill I have to work on. You know, I know that's what you need, but because that's where all of my anxiety comes from. If like I don't know my plan B, C, you know, whatever it may be, like it brings you anxiety, because sometimes you can't like plan for that, or like it's just sometimes you have to take the days as they come and like see what opportunities are going to come to you, but you don't have control over that, so you have to be okay with not having control, and then also being okay with like the unknown. And so
the control part is so hard. Oh man, you guys know me as someone who always has backup plans. So relinquishing the control and learning the adaptability part was like, it was rough. When I was younger, it was really hard, and now I'm much better at it. But it did start out very rough.
So well. You're the queen of that. Like, I need to take a master class of yours or something. Like, dang, what was I gonna say? Transitioning. You said something earlier just now.
Embracing the unknown, and then accepting that things aren't in your control.
Yeah, and what's ironic about it is like, even when you have a plan, the plan still doesn't.
Oh, exactly.
Through. You know, like even to the details.
I'm so guilty of that. Like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do this, this, and this, and then I look like at my boyfriend. I'm like, I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm just like, there's no point, because it's gonna change. Like it always changes, no matter how much you try to plan. You don't have control over it, and so
I think I agree with you 100% for that, honestly. And sometimes the plan B or C isn't what you want, like the location, you know, because I think prior to accepting this position, I had got offered a position in Chicago, you know. But my thing was I didn't want to be in Chicago. So it's like, you got to go where you find peace at too, you know, like where you know that. And sometimes you have to turn down offers, you know, even if it's like,
if they're not a good fit.
You know, if you feel like you won't be happy there, because peace of mind is so important. Like you can't ignore that, you know. You can end up in a work environment where you're very unhappy, or even like the location where you're very unhappy. So it's like, it's knowing when you have to make those big people decisions, like a big person decision, and just kind of trust and have faith that, you know, things are going to work out the way that you want it to work out, you know, even if it doesn't work out exactly how you want it to work out, some piece of it in your favor, you know, work out the way that you want it to work out.
Interestingly, I would argue that if they didn't work out the way you anticipated, like those are the best learning opportunities, because you didn't necessarily want to go there for a reason. So maybe it was unknown or uncertain, or just something you're not all that familiar with, and then you just stumble across it, and then you're like, oh dang, you know, this is nice. I like this.
Self-discovery with it, that you just get to learn about yourself and trying new things that you might not have liked. It's like, my parents were really not big into avocado, and now I'm like, just try it one time, and I promise you'll love it. And now they love it. So
it's something that Nyjah said, like about rejecting in Chicago. Like I had the very, very similar thing, and it tied to basically what you both were saying, like rejecting something but not really understanding like what's going to happen after type thing. Before I even knew about the career coach position, I had gotten a position over in Boston, actually, with City Year, to go and tutor kids and things like that. And I, when I was younger, I always wanted to go live in Boston. Like I loved Boston, and I wanted to go so bad. And I was like, oh my gosh, all the stars have aligned. They want me for this position. They're saying like Boston's a really competitive area. But then like after a few days of thinking about it, I was like, you know what? I don't think this is a smart move. And like, I remember my family and everyone was like, what, you've wanted to go to Boston? Why are you throwing it away? Like, this is such a great opportunity for you. I was like, but it doesn't feel right. Like I feel like there's something else. And I was like, you know, I don't just want to grab the first thing that falls into my lap. That took a lot of courage too.
Yeah.
Oh,
In
extremely.
terms of like, yeah, because it's like when you're transitioning from something, you're
Yes.
just like, from the uncertainty and not knowing what's going to happen, it's like, oh, one opportunity, okay, I'm going to take it and hold on to it. But like, I just had something telling me like, just wait a little bit longer,
Yeah.
you know?
Patient.
Yes.
It's that gut feeling.
Yes.
You gotta be in tune with your
Oh my
gut
goodness.
feeling, and especially. Sorry. what
Oh
was
no, I was just gonna say that gut feeling. That's exactly what led me. Just knowing that like my
Yeah.
family need me, kind of thing, and just finding my opportunity. It just it
Yeah.
fit right, and it's in your gut.
Yeah.
I've ignored my gut enough times to have learned
that?
that I need to listen to my gut.
Oh my goodness. That's the
And
worst
that comes
feeling,
with
too.
experience. You
It
know,
does,
you have to
yes.
learn yourself. You have to know what that feeling feels like. And I could only imagine, because you were graduating. So like, it's not like somebody just deciding to find a new role. Like you were being like kicked out. Like this is your
Yeah.
end.
Yeah.
So find something.
Yeah.
And so it took a lot of courage to be able to hold on and like stick to your guns.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
Happy New Year.
I know. So happy you're here.
So, yeah.
Okay, so let's change it up a little bit. So in your new role, what is the biggest legacy you want to leave behind?
Okay, all right. I feel like I'm leaving behind like lots of little mini legacies for different people and teaching them different things. But I think my biggest legacy is just leading with my heart and leading with compassion. I've been at UNT for 6 years, and I've learned there's more to everything than just being kind, but to really meaning your kindness and to going that extra step, because you never know what kind of impact that's going to have on someone. And I've seen it in practice throughout my years here. I've seen professors do it with other students, and I've done it myself with students in different situations.
you
And
have.
just leading with my heart has led me to such good opportunities, and it's made me more into the person that I wanted to become, and I'm glad of the person that I'm becoming because of it.
Yes. Bree, you are such a giver. I just need the world to know. You're the epitome of that. Like, you always go the extra mile and just make someone's day just an extra little bit better, a little bit better. So thank you for that.
I think it's so important. No, I think it's very similar. Like, I think it's important to find something that you're passionate about, because you definitely are it's not gonna be just a job. Like, you're gonna really do more and go the extra mile. And I think for me, like, I want to work with all students, but like specifically, if I could work with like athletes and like first generation students, like helping them find their purpose, that's just really the biggest reward, there, even if it's not in my college, just really kind of figuring out like, what do they find in their field, or what do they find that is going to make them happy, I feel like that's very broad, because there's so many different career fields, and I feel like at a young age like that, not everybody knows what they want to do with their life. But I don't know, like just kind of developing like a plan, or, even a program or something that just really leaves an impact on first generation students and really athletes, figuring out what they're passionate about outside of just their sport. So I don't know, that's what I'm excited about.
I love that.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm thinking about so many things, because like, this is a side note, but I just think it's so incredible that you guys, like, there's this common theme at the Career Center and among the career coaches, and like just the amount of like care that they have for other people and for students, and like just wanting them to be happy is like, it makes my heart so happy, because like it's been hard for me to find people like that, who are those optimists and who think of a negative in a positive way, and like there's not a lot of people that I've had like that, and so it's like I felt a bit outcastish. So it's like I've been told like being too soft, being too nice, like type thing, and so it just coming here, I was like, oh my gosh, like they get it, like they get it, and it's like if someone like treats you poorly or something like that, it's not, your initial reaction isn't like, oh, they've done me wrong. It's like, okay, what's going on? How can I support you? Type thing. And I feel like that's a really common theme, like here.
Yeah.
And I just love that because it comes from a place of like compassion, because I'm definitely like a firm believer, like people aren't mean just to be mean. Like people aren't gonna outlash or like anything like that for there's a reason why. There's something going on. Like, you know, people just aren't like that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say something off of that real quick. Something that my grandma told me, like she's always told me growing up, is don't let the world change who you are. I think that's so important. Like keep your heart the way that it's supposed to be, because at the end of the day, there are going to be people who might be like discouraging for whatever reason that's going on in their life, but keep that positive attitude, because at the end of the day, you might change their life, you know, have them look at things from a different perspective, you know.
Right.
Yeah. Optimism is a superpower.
See?
It is.
Exactly.
I love that you say that, because I agree. Like the career center, I wasn't sure if I'd be a good fit, to be honest, because I'm so like hippie-ish and, you know, warm and fuzzy and, you know, like internships and, you know, all of it seems so stiff, possibly. Yeah, for the professionalism felt a little stiff, because, you know, I was a psych student, so I'm very like understand people and know how you work, you know. But every person, you're right, every person in the career center that I've come across is like incredibly helpful and does like to go that extra mile. And I love what you said about just being who you are. I heard this quote, I'll probably butcher it, but it was something along the lines of like, if you don't show up as your authentic self, you'll never find your authentic tribe.
Ooh, I like that.
Because it's like, most people hide and mask because they're like, okay, I think that people want me to behave this way, so I'm gonna perform. And then you feel uncomfortable and fake because you're around people that aren't actually what you're giving to the world. But then whenever you show up as your authentic self, that's the only way the people who are meant to be in your life can actually find you. So yes, I love that.
And see, like, going off of that, because answering the question of like the legacy to leave is exactly that. Like whenever I've gotten in some of these meetings for some ideas, it's like, it always comes back to the main value of, I want people to feel comfortable with who they are, like no matter what. Like even if society has deemed them of having something that's a weakness, it's like, it's not a weakness. Like it's you, and since it's you, it's not a weakness. Like, you know, you own it.
And if it is, right, it's your weakness.
Yeah, exactly.
So embrace it.
It's a part of who you are, and that's one of those things that a lot of students are like, oh, I wish I was like this person, oh, I wish I was like that person. I'm like, don't try to be somebody else, because there's only one you in the world. So you got to be who you are, because that's the only way that you're going to go forward.
Exactly.
So okay, ladies, look, this is all rich, you know. So let me ask this last question, and then we'll start wrapping it up. What's something that you've learned about yourself in this transition of change? You ready?
I'm over here thinking, I think what I've learned is to advocate for myself, you know. I think that it's extremely important. I think for me, I was always one of those people who kind of didn't speak up because like I didn't want to hurt someone's feelings, or like I, you know, wanted, I don't want to say people please, but just kind of like people please, you know?
Right.
And I think it's just very important to advocate for yourself, because when you tell your truth and you speak with other people, like someone else can take something away from that, you know? So I think it's just always important to share your story, you know, and stand firm on your experiences. Like even if they were bad experiences, like be proud of that because you learned something in that lesson. And so like for me personally, like when I talk to like certain students, like I tell them like my journey, like I graduated with my bachelor's degree in exercise science, and I really thought I wanted to do physical therapy. Like I was like, yeah. And then I got to DC and I was like, no, I don't want to do this, you know, but I wouldn't say that that was a like something that like I did wrong in life. You know, I just think that I ended up finding out what I was truly passionate about, you know, by going back to the drawing board, you know. So just learning to advocate for myself, and, you know, then to like, don't be afraid to share your stories, even if your path is, everybody's path and journey is never a straight line. Like it's always gonna be loops and curves and everything. And that's the special part about life, is that it's unexpected and you really don't know what's next, you know.
Can I just take a moment to say yes? Because, yes, I get students to come into our office and they're just like, I don't know what to do. And so like not being sure of what choice to make leaves people paralyzed and not wanting to make a decision because they're afraid to make the wrong decision. But it's like, honestly, what you don't realize is, let's say you made the wrong decision. It's just like process of elimination. You know what I mean? What's beautiful is that because life keeps moving, you just get back to the drawing board. Like, okay, who am I? What am I good at? And let me try the plan B, you know?
Yeah.
So, Kate, what'd you learn?
Honestly, it's to trust myself more. And I just figure out more and more that I am so capable and that I'm quote unquote smart because honestly, growing up in a bunch of like academia, I was made to feel that I wasn't smart, but I've just rediscovered my new strengths, and that's really what it is. It's just trusting myself and not telling myself that something isn't good enough, and just like literally just trusting yourself and trusting what you know and going with it.
Okay, so I think I'd have to say the biggest thing that I've learned is leading with my heart, but being the example that I wanted to be and being who I really am. And it's not a weakness to be kind. It's not a weakness to show empathy or to have sad moments. It's part of who I am. And we had a little party yesterday and I didn't really know how many people's lives that I touched by being kind and being there when people needed it. That was just part of who I am, and I'm so thankful that I was able to touch all of your lives in my own way and take that with me as I go.
Bree, we're gonna miss
I'm
you.
not gonna cry, I'm fine.
No, I'm like, you need to stay because we have to spend more time together.
Please, I know.
No,
It's fine.
I'm happy.
We wish you well. Like,
Yeah.
we're great.
Get some
So
pizza
that's
for
fine.
me.
Yes.
I will.
I will. Really? Go to
Yes.
Crooked Chris.
Oh my gosh, Stan has a vendetta against Crooked Crust.
Okay, never mind. All right, ladies. Well, I just wanted to say thank y'all for all of your openness and transparency and capturing this moment of change and transition in each of your lives. For me, this was really important because growth is one of my values. And, you know, everybody says growth stems from outside of your comfort zone, which means if you want to grow.
Ooh, I got a good quote for that. I will quote Heather Carey, my high school professor for English. You never grow anywhere by being comfortable. You have to be uncomfortable in order to grow. And that's the only way you're going to go forward.
Exactly.
And I was like, boom.
Yes.
Jules.
And
Take
it's
it back
like
to college.
you have to learn how to actually lean into that discomfort and be okay with the things that just naturally surface. Like, you're gonna feel imposter syndrome, you're gonna feel like you're not good enough, you're gonna have the whirlwind, you know, of like craziness that goes into changing your life and your routines. But you have to learn to lean into that, because ultimately when you grow, that's when you blossom.
Yeah.
You know, that's when you become your best self and who you're really meant to be. And that's really when you can spark change and leave your, you know, imprint on the world.
Start that legacy.
Yeah.
Exactly, leave your legacy.
I always think of like change, like when you're in a cocoon, like someone is in a cocoon, and then it's just kind of like, it's gonna be, you're about to blossom to a butterfly. Like it's right there, like, you know, and when it happens, you're gonna know what happens, because you're gonna feel like you're genuinely standing in your light, you know, and it's just kind of like such a freeing feeling, I would say, you know, but you have to do the work. That's the important
To get
part.
out of the cocoon.
Exactly.
Because like, can you imagine just having to like break out of this little cocoon, your soft little body? I'm just saying. You know, that, and you know, like, another like analogy, sorry y'all, but like we were talking about how like you're a seed, you know, and so like to be a seed, you have to be planted in dirt. And sometimes fertilizer, which you know fertilizer is made out of, you know, has to be thrown on you. And that's the conditions you need to be in to thrive and grow into your truest self. So thank you again for being a part of this wonderful conversation. All of you are awesome. You really are. You really are. I love this like feminine power. Just want to say, like, go women. So thank y'all for watching. I hope you really enjoyed this conversation. Please stay tuned for more conversations from us in the future.